we have strong individual players, but we still are not getting the most out of them. Look, if you're a coach, I'd bet money you've muttered this exact phrase under your breath after a frustrating game. It's kind of the ultimate dilemma, right? You've got raw talent, you've got ball skills out the wazoo, but it's just not translating to the scoreboard.
Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the definitive playbook to solve exactly that problem, the 2-2 box shape in futsal. This system is specifically designed to get the absolute most out of teams loaded with individual talent. It's actually especially killer for squads built around physically strong former soccer players who are making that transition to the smaller court. If you're lucky enough to have two strong pivots, setting up in this 2-2 shape is literally the ultimate way to create clear reference points up front and just absolutely terrorize a defense.
Here's our game plan for today. We're going to walk through the box setup, then look at some core tactical weapons, followed by possession and priorities, the attack sequence, and finally, fluidity and adapting. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The box setup and initial positioning.
So before we set this whole engine into motion, we need to establish our baseline shape. First, you place your two pivots, your target attackers, up front. Then your two fixos, or deep playmakers, sit right behind them. Now here is the secret sauce for this. You want to position your players on the side opposite their strong foot. Think of them kind of like inverted wingers. By putting players on their weak foot side, their chests will naturally face the center of the box, which completely opens up those crucial inside passing lanes right to the middle.
Section 2. Core tactical weapons and creating superiority.
Okay, so what actually makes this shape such an absolute nightmare for defenders to deal with? Well, the first major tactical purpose is creating space between the lines. When you line up in a box like this, most opposing teams are going to respond with something pretty close to man-to-man marking. And because of your shape, the defending team is essentially forced into two distinct horizontal defensive lines. Or three, I guess, if you count the goalkeeper. By vertically stretching the defense out like this, the 2-2 formation naturally opens up this massive sweet spot right in the dead center of the defensive box. And as we all know, that middle space is where games are won and lost. And that naturally leads us right into our second tactical weapon, qualitative superiority through pure 1v1 isolation. Just look at the massive wide distances in this box shape. You're basically giving each player their own island of space. By isolating those defenders out wide, you're creating pure, unadulterated 1v1 matchups. There's no immediate help defense coming. This right here is exactly why the system relies so heavily on individual ability and physical dominance. If your player is just flat out better or stronger than the guy marking them, this formation forces the defense to pay the ultimate price.
Section 3. Possession and attacking priorities. All right, let's talk about the operational mindset for the fixos bringing the ball up the court. They need this exact sequence hammered into their brains. Priority number 1, play into the pivot. You have two of them up there, so keep your head up and look for those vertical and diagonal lanes. If those are blocked, you immediately move to priority 2, the horizontal pass. You move the ball sideways to force those defenders to shift, which pries open a lane to the pivot. And if all else fails, priority 3 is the safe back pass to the goalkeeper, just so you can live to attack another day. But let's put ourselves in a split-second, high-pressure game scenario. What happens when the defense actually anticipates your movement? Let's say you're looking for that horizontal pass, you step toward the ball to shake your marker, and that eager defender reads it, aggressively jumping inward to intercept. Suddenly, you are under immense pressure with nowhere to go. Well, this brings us to a highly effective countermove called the tampa, or counterpie. When the opponent jumps inward like that, you just use their own momentum against them. Instead of playing right into their trap, you immediately drive your dribble to the opposite side. It literally leaves the defender in the dust. And once you've blown past them using the tampa, look what happens. You've just created a 3-on-2 advantage in the front line. From there, you can either drive forward into the space or immediately play a quick pass into the pivot before the defense even has a chance to recover.
Section 4, the attack sequence and breaking down the defense.
Okay, so we are in the final third now. At this point, everything hinges on the angle of your entry pass to actually break down the defense. We basically have two main triggers here, the vertical pivot pass and the diagonal pivot pass. The angle of this initial pass entirely dictates the supporting runs and finishing patterns your team is going to execute next. So let's focus on the vertical pass first. Notice this devastating L pattern forming here. After a vertical pass into the pivot, the golden rule is that the passing fixo must immediately make a diagonal run straight toward the goal. What you're looking for here is a simple, lethal finish within just 2 touches. The player who passed makes the run, and the 2 pivots facilitate the play. It draws a massive L shape right on the court. It's incredibly fast, it involves the two players closest to the ball, and it catches defenses entirely flat-footed almost every time. But hey, defenses aren't stupid, right? As a basic rule, an opposing fixo is going to try to step in front of your pivot to screen that pass. When that happens, you gotta deploy your arsenal. First, you can have your two pivots swap positions just to confuse the markers. Or, even better, you use indirect blocks. This is where one pivot deliberately blocks the other's marker, which provokes a mark exchange and frees up a teammate to receive the ball. If the ball does manage to get through, the pivot always has the threat to turn and shoot, or just lay it off to a teammate making a back post segundo run. Oh, and for some high-level flair, you can use tricky pass exchanges with the sole of the foot, the pisada, to completely disorient a really tight defender. Section 5, Fluidity, Adapting, and Formation Changes. Up to now, we've looked at the 2-2 as a static box, but we all know modern futsal is really all about dynamic adaptation. Let's look at how this builds in real time based on specific triggers. You might actually start out in a standard 3-1 shape, but if one of your deep players simply makes a run to the side opposite the pivot, boom, you have seamlessly morphed right into a 2-2. What if you're in a 2-2 but your pivots can't hold the ball up? Easy. One pivot drops into the space between the lines and you are instantly in a 2-1-1. Or, if a fixo without the ball pushes up into the second line, you naturally drift into a 1-1-2 formation. The crazy thing is, many teams actually drift in and out of the 2-2 box shape without even realizing it. But by deliberately understanding these triggers, you get to control the chaos rather than just reacting to it. I want to throw one final curveball scenario your way. What do you do when the opponent's press is just absolutely flawless? The first defender is totally suffocating the ball carrier, the second defender has cut off both the vertical and diagonal lanes to the pivots, and even your sideways horizontal pass is completely blocked. You are totally trapped. Now what? Well, this is exactly when you pull the emergency escape hatch, a structured goalkeeper clearance to bypass the press entirely. Here's how it works. First, the goalkeeper drives a low, hard ball directly toward the head of a front pivot. Instantly, your diagonal fixo sprints to a predetermined rebound spot, while your other fixo drops back to maintain defensive cover. Finally, the pivot intentionally heads the ball backward directly into the path of that arriving fixo. You've literally just turned a suffocating trap into a highly structured, direct counterattack in about 3 seconds flat. So, I'll leave you with this. Could mastering the 2-2 box shape be the missing link that finally unlocks your team's raw potential? I challenge you to really look at your team's spontaneous game movements this week. Are you already drifting into this shape entirely by accident? If so, it's time to start doing it on purpose. Weaponize this system, give your players that 1v1 isolation they're craving, and watch your raw talent finally translate to the scoreboard. There is so much more depth to these tactical triggers in the original playbook, so definitely be sure to dive into the source material to master every single rotation. Thanks